Okay viewers, it's time to get the final gold tally for my client from his BGAs, or the gold corner BGAs, and the IC chips. Excuse me. Now, I have found two really good ways to dry powder. I've been searching for a way for so long. I make a cup out of baking paper and I put it inside a dish like this so that it keeps its shape like that, and that way when I squirt the water out of the beaker and into the paper, it holds its shape and I'm able to suck out the water with a pipette. And then I take the paper and I place it, this is one of the ways, on top of a plate that I have on top of a beaker. When it's on the hot plate, the plate gets hot, but not too hot that it burns the paper, just enough to dry the gold. The second way, pretty much the same thing, but I put this in the oven. It did cook the paper a little bit, so I would be using a lower temperature next time, but either way the gold hasn't stuck to the paper. Both ways seem to be very good. Now, in the gold corner BGA video, if you've watched that one, the batteries went flat just as I was trying to weigh it, and I just caught a glimpse of 3.2 grams before it died. So what I need to do is take out my percentage and then weigh up what he gets. So I'll turn it on. I'm going to need two hands, so I'm going to take off 25% and then weigh up his amount of gold, and I'll come back. Alright, now minus the 20, my percentage, he should be getting 2.4 grams. 2.41 is good enough. I'd prefer to give him the advantage than me. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to melt this here. I'm going to tip that into the melt dish and then weigh out his gold from the IC chips. So I'll be back. Okay, so I've tared it back to 0. Now his share was meant to be 1.67, but again I'll give him just that tiny bit extra. I'd rather do that and know that he's happy. I'm not out to rip anybody off. So now I'll tip that in there with the other gold powder, and we'll go out back and weigh it, go out the back and melt it. Before I do though, I like to use my little micro torch just to give it a crust, because the micro torch is a very soft flame and it won't blow any of the gold powder out. So I'll show you, I'll do that soon. I'll just lightly go over it with the micro torch first before I go outside and use the big torch. I don't want to blow any of his powder out of the dish. So this step's probably not necessary, but as I said, when it's someone else's gold, I don't want to take chances. I start off with a really small flame. Yeah, I would like to know that if it was my gold someone was doing for me, that they took all these steps to ensure that I didn't lose any gold. It's how I get through life, is I treat people how I hope they treat me. So I can turn this up just a little bit. It's a good little torch, this. Runs off lighter fluid. They say it's hot enough to melt gold, but I've tried, and with powder like this, it gets to the point where it kind of all amalgamates, but it doesn't really get it to molten liquid. It can give the appearance of melted gold at the end, but it's just not a shiny round bead like you get with a hotter torch. So I'm just going around where all the dust is, just making sure that I get it all. the flame goes a lot hotter yet. I'm just going to step it up slowly and get all these little bits down here. Once they get a crust on them, they don't tend to blow out. So I'm going to turn the torch up a bit more. It wasn't very expensive, this torch. I got it from wish.com. I think, from memory, don't quote me, but I think it was about 30 bucks. It might have even been cheaper. I can't remember. It's easy to operate. It's got a wheel on this side. I just roll it backwards and forwards to turn it up or down like that. It's got a button at the back you press to start. So it's just starting to go to redness. You can see there. Just as it starts going to redness, then I know that it's going to have a crust on it. And then it won't be affected when I put the big torch on it outside. It's a shame that this doesn't melt it all the way to molten, because I would just do it here. Sorry that's in your view, but I think it's well worth this little step to make sure that I don't lose any of it. So it should be safe now to go out the back and melt it. So let's go do that. Okay, it's pretty windy outside, so I'm glad that I did put a crust on the gold, but just to be sure, just to be safe, until I was ready, I put this over the top. And a lot of people have asked me why I don't use borax. I actually do. There's borax in there. I just don't put big dobs of it on there like a lot of other people do. And the reason why is because I find it hard to melt the gold with the borax, you know, when it's in a pool of borax. If it's a big enough bar, then it's okay, but when you get a tiny little bead and it's all full of borax, then it's like, I don't know, it's just, I don't know. And it also goes all black, so you probably saw in the bottom of the crucible before, there was some dark old borax. It goes like glass. So this, see, that melted perfectly fine without putting any borax on there. There's enough borax in the dish already. I don't need to use any more. Okay, so now I'll just pick that out with the tweezers once it flushes over. And there you go. Nice little button of gold. You see the dark, let's see if I can pick it up and show you. So see the dark borax where it was sitting? It's actually left what looks like copper on the button. You turn it over and it's nice and clean. So it's not the gold itself. This is dirty old borax. That's why I don't like using it. So I'm going to try and get that out by what I normally do is I tip it on an angle like that, and with the flame I bring it down to the very edge and drop it off into the water, and the dish will be nice and clean. So I'll do that and then I'll remelt it. I hate trying to get this going when it's windy. So now the dish is a lot cleaner. I'm trying to remelt this. I'll move it over to a cleaner part of the dish and let it flush over there. Stay there. Okay. Much better. Alright, so I'm going to take it back inside and package it up. Despite my best effort, I couldn't get this dish clean. I tried to get the ball of gold to land over here on a clean spot. No matter how many times I did it, it kept picking up half all this black stuff. Now, I know it's not in the gold because when you turn it over, it's nice and gold. It's the side that was in the dish that comes out with a black coating on it. That's why I hate using borax. I can't stand it. And I don't want to just keep using a brand new dish every time, but I'm going to have to, I think. So what I've done is I've put it in some dilute sulfuric acid to try and dissolve off that borax. It should work. But if it doesn't, by some chance, then I'm going to have no choice but to wait till I've got a new melt dish. I have to order one. But the sulfuric acid usually does the job. It's definitely only in the borax. Otherwise the whole thing would be all dirty. So I don't. That's why I can't stand borax. It always goes black like this. Always. Even with the cleanest piece of gold that you got to melt, the borax just goes black. I hate the stuff. So for those who wonder why I don't put borax on top of the gold when it's about to flush over, that's why. So just wait now for the sulfuric acid to do its thing. I'll give it about half an hour or so and see if it works. Hopefully it will. Alrighty, the sulfuric acid did the job. You can see it's a really nice piece of gold. Unfortunately, it's left a dirty section on the back here, but when you turn it over, it's nice and shiny. But at least it hasn't got that dark stuff all over it. So we got 4.3, and that's not too bad because they're both lots of gold joined together. I weighed it off camera and it was 4.07. So only lose a tiny little bit of weight when we melt it. I would have figured it would be the other way around. I thought it would get heavier because this is more dense, but there we go. 4.03 grams. I'm going to package that up and send that off as soon as I can. I hope you all enjoyed watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.